Let me start by just introducing myself. I'm not anybody famous. I live and work here in Orange County like you do. But I'm happy to share with you my story, and maybe there's a few things that might work for you as well. Once I was recently asked to introduce myself by coming up with 3 one-word answers to the following questions. And it was an interesting exercise, so I thought I would share that with you. So, who am I? I'm a woman. Hopefully that's obvious. I'm a wife. I've been married to my college sweetheart for 20 years. And I'm a mother. I have 2 teenagers. One is headed off to college this fall. What do I do? Second category. And you notice I didn't put my career in who am I. What do I do? I'm an attorney, as was mentioned. I'm an executive at the company I work at. I'm also a director. That fills up a lot of my time. But what are 3 adjectives that might describe me? Those were harder to narrow them down. First is Catholic. My faith is very important to me. It's essential to how I live my life. Second, I put loyal. Loyalty for me is important. And third, grateful. And I'm going to come back to that one. It's a little bit of my background, just as context for this. I grew up in rural Indiana, as was mentioned. I was the youngest of 4 children. At age 12, I had a very abrupt family change when my father moved away without saying goodbye to any of us. And I watched and was stunned, as my mother was also stunned, and watched how she dealt or didn't deal with this situation very well. And I think a feminist was born about the age of 12. As I look back, I became fiercely independent from about that moment forward. I started working as soon as I could get myself to a job. I had to leave Indiana at age 15 because my mother also moved away. So I moved to Nevada with my father, and if you've ever experienced culture shock, moving from Muncie, Indiana to Las Vegas, Nevada is, I think, the epitome of culture shock. Everything about me was just wrong. Hair, clothes, the way I talked, everything. But I finished high school. I ended up high school valedictorian. I worked through high school. I moved to California then at age 19, never looked back, largely on my own financially. Went to Loyola Law School, as was mentioned, again, largely on my own financially. My father passed away, though, 2 years into law school, and at that point, I was really on my own financially, no more safety net of any kind. Graduated from law school, and I got married to my husband and started my law career all within the span of about 5 months. And really, as a lawyer, you learn by drinking from the proverbial fire hose. It was somewhat traumatic period of learning how to be a lawyer, but fantastic learning. 2 years into that, we had our son. That changed my perspective largely. My husband also decided to be a stay-home parent at that time. That wasn't necessarily a deliberate decision. It was more of an experiment to start off with. He was in a miserably unhappy job. We were having a child care crisis, and he said, we'll just give it a try, and that was 19 years ago. We then, that put me in a different place from being a working mom to being the sole provider for my family. But it also opened up career doors for me that I wouldn't have otherwise taken, I think. So a year after that, I made a pretty big decision to join Allergan. And many of you know Allergan, a big pharmaceutical medical device company here in Orange County. At Allergan, as I think back now, it never occurred to me to say no to a new project or an assignment. I think I was too young to be smart enough to be scared about these things, but I'll give you a good example. Around the time of Y2K, I don't know if any of you guys remember Y2K, the Securities and Exchange Commission was telling public companies you need to tell the world what you're doing to prepare for Y2K and the impending doom, which never happened. So I was asking people at Allergan, what are we doing for Y2K? And they said, that's a good question. Why don't you go find out and organize a project? And make sure we're ready for Y2K. So, okay, sure, yeah, I did that. I did a lot of silly projects like that, but each one of them introduced me to new people and new challenges and built my own confidence. I had my daughter, was out again, and but despite all this, I did start to feel a little restless in my career. I was there 4 years. It felt like an eternity at that point in my life. But Allergan made a decision then to spin off as a public company, its medical devices. So they were splitting into two companies, and they said, maybe why don't you be in charge of this whole project of separating these two companies out? And I said, sure, what could be hard about that? Little did I know, it almost killed me, but it also was a key decision to the rest of my career. Shortly after that, I was asked to become the general counsel of this new separate company at age 33. So this was my career goal. Like by the time I reached 70, I wanted to be this, but here I was 33, and of course I said yes. It was an amazing experience. AMO, this company that we spun off, I was in charge of human resources and law and internal audit and a bunch of other things, and it was challenging and fun. And we bought other companies and we sold things, and we had a fantastic time. And then the recession hit, and it hit AMO pretty hard. We ended up selling the company in 2009 to Abbott, and I found myself without a job. And it was an interesting time period for me. It turns out I'm really good at not working. I probably didn't need to know that about myself, but I did have the benefit of having some transition benefits, and so I had some time to spend with my family. I coached middle school volleyball and just did some vacations and trips with my family I probably wouldn't have taken otherwise. But that sole support for your family thing was can't get over my head. And I started doing some consulting projects, and that ended up leading me to my current position at Edwards. And at Edwards, my job is strictly in the law department, none of these other things, but I truly love it. Edwards is a culture that is focused on patients. We make heart valves, so when you get older, your heart valves don't work so well. It's really a mechanical issue. No pharmaceuticals can help you, but our devices can and do help people live another decade. And it's inspiring. It makes me feel like not only being a lawyer, but being a superhero kind of at the same time. I don't actually save people's lives, but I get to feel like I do, which is fantastic. So, as I thought what I might share with you all today, particularly graduates, I professionally and personally, I found myself in a very, very happy place. And as I thought back, there's a quote from James Cash Penney, J.C. Penney, that I picked up in my Allergan years, and I wrote it down, and it's been on my desk ever since. And it goes like this. I am grateful for all my problems. After each one was overcome, I became stronger and more able to meet those that were still to come. I grew in all my difficulties. I was really inspired by this, which is why I wrote it down. But I couldn't remember it. It was too long. As you can tell, I had to read it. So I sort of summarized and condensed for myself into something more like, I'm thankful for my problems because I'm here to experience them and learn from them. And this personal credo is really the core of me. I use it every single day. It puts everything in perspective. This isn't to say I don't make changes when I'm not pleased with something. I do, and you should. But what it does do is balance the good with the bad. I don't let myself get into a pity party. I give myself a reality check on the positive. And then about 2 years ago, I came across a quote on Facebook where, everyone thinks they're a philosopher on Facebook. And I usually flip, blah, blah, blah. But I found when I stopped on one, I thought I had a real aha moment. And it wasn't really, I don't know who came up with this. I don't know who to describe this saying to, but it was something like, it's not happy people who are grateful, but grateful people who are happy. So think about that. This direct link between gratitude and happiness. And these two pieces came together for me in a way I hadn't really put them together for myself. And as I think now, I think this works personally and professionally. So personally, I can look back at the disruption in my early life and be grateful for the woman I became because of it. I see the world differently as a child of divorce. I raise my children differently. I view my marriage differently. I didn't enjoy that time period of my life, but I can look back and treasure what I learned from it. Moving west, I didn't enjoy that at the time, but it opened doors in my mind that I didn't even know existed. Doors to diversity and tolerance and openness, and I'm convinced I'm a better person because of that. Being on my own financially, no safety net, I worked harder, I'm convinced. No safety net means you hit real hard when you fall. I was going to make darn sure I didn't fall. And in my marriage, every marriage has bumps. At the end of every day, I thank the Lord for the man sitting next to me. He is my gift from God. And no matter what issue we are disagreeing about, it's not more important than that. It helps me put it in perspective. So professionally, how does this apply? I'm part of a lot of big decisions, and I don't always get my way. I try really hard to get my way. But I don't always. But in the end of the day, I can look back and say I was part of a really great team that made a decision, that I enjoy my team. With my team, I like them as people. I like my peers, your friends. I go to work every day and have fun. Can't always say that. It's not perfect though, I think no job is, but the pros outweigh the cons. And if they ever didn't, I would make a change. But that's where I sit. So, in preparing for today, I went out and looked for a couple more quotes, thinking maybe there's more on this. I actually did find two that I thought you might take some wisdom from. One's from Abraham Lincoln. He said most people are about as happy as they make their minds up to be. I like that. But second, I found one that, again, I hadn't put two and two together. This is from a writer named William Arthur Ward. He said, feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. So again, feeling this gratitude but not sharing it, that's not enough. And I think it's the sharing of it sometimes that can mend a lot of bridges in your life or at work. If you're struggling with someone, you're not connecting, start by thanking them for something they actually did that helped you or that you took from that experience. It's been huge for me. So my advice to you graduates, I know you might be considering what next to do in your careers now that you've reached this milestone. What advice can I give you? It boils down to two things. Take risks in your career. Don't doubt yourself. Don't let that hold you back. Each one will give you confidence, and you'll figure it out. You're smart. You got where you are today. You can do it. Second of all, when you're struggling, try practicing gratitude. It has really worked for me. And perhaps it'll work for you as well. So thank you very much. Good luck.